Hi, I'm Leonard Mlodinow, physicist and author. I wrote 2 books with Stephen Hawking, and my upcoming book, Stephen Hawking, A Memoir of Friendship and Physics, is about him and our relationship. I'm going to read you an excerpt. When, after we had written a briefer history, I asked Stephen if he wanted to write another book together, my idea was to focus on his latest physics research, which I had been following with interest. Had we stuck to the physics alone, that would have been plenty for a great and provocative book, but Stephen decided to make the idea bigger. In the grand design, he wanted to talk about the philosophical implications of his latest work. I want to present a new philosophy for theoretical physics, he told me. That was a rather bold goal. It interested me as long as we didn't take it too seriously. After all, we weren't philosophers. On the other hand, I didn't see anything wrong with trying to illuminate how physicists think about their work and its relation to the world, and the science content of the book did invite such a discussion. Given Stephen's desire to get philosophical, I was surprised when I saw that the message he had emailed me that morning included some text that he suggested be added early in the first chapter. His text began, "How can we understand the world in which we find ourselves? How does the universe behave? What is the nature of reality? Where did all this come from? Did the universe need a creator?" And then he added, "Traditionally, these are questions for philosophy, but philosophy is dead." How was it possible, I wondered, to start a book in which we'd present a new philosophy for theoretical physics with the statement that philosophy is dead? "Why do you want to write that philosophy is dead?" I asked Stephen. "It's not dead," I said. "What used to be called natural philosophy is dead, but not philosophy. Natural philosophy was a precursor of our sciences, a branch of philosophy in which scholars attempted to understand nature through pure reason rather than reason plus experiment. It was rendered archaic by the development of the scientific method." Stephen knew all this, but I continued making my case. "I agree that today we can understand the physical universe better through science than philosophy," I said. "But there's also philosophy of life. There's ethics. There's logic. There's the philosophy of individual disciplines such as mathematics and physics. Those branches of philosophy aren't dead," I said. Stephen gave me a critical look. He obviously saw things differently. As I awaited his response, I gazed idly at him. Suddenly it struck me that the sport jacket he was wearing was a couple of sizes too big. He seemed lost in it. And in his slacks, too. I suppose that well-fitting clothes would be difficult to find for him, given his almost complete lack of muscle. There wasn't much meat on his bones. "I have an idea," I said to Stephen. He stopped composing his answer and turned his eyes toward me. "How about writing, as a way of understanding the physical world, philosophy is dead?" Stephen grimaced. He looked back at his computer screen and resumed working in his response. Impatient for his reaction, I got up and walked around to watch what he typed. It felt a bit funny, as I wasn't accustomed to doing that. I had generally been warned that he didn't like it, but on this occasion he didn't seem to mind. In time he'd grow comfortable with my pulling up a chair to sit behind him. He would come to welcome it because it would speed things up. I could watch his sentences evolve on the screen, and sometimes I could finish them for him or guess where he was going. When I got it right, it would save time, because he didn't have to finish typing it all out. But if I guessed wrong, he'd be annoyed. If I guessed wrong twice in a row, he'd be really annoyed. I got to his side just as he was finishing his typing. His text read, "Your sentence has no punch." I answered before he had a chance to make his computer voice it. "That's true," I said. "It's less punchy, but to say philosophy is dead is an oversimplification." He looked back at his computer screen, but didn't type anything new. He just had his computer give voice to what he had already written. "Your sentence has no punch," it said. "I do get what you're saying," I told him, "but if we say philosophy is dead, we'll piss off a lot of people." He looked back at his screen and clicked again. Stephen could control the volume of his computer voice, and now his computer voice repeated, "Your sentence has no punch," very loudly. I looked at him. He bent his mouth into an unnatural shape. It looked like an exaggerated smile, but upside down. He was apparently frustrated that I wasn't getting the point. There were two types of coworkers that Stephen had little patience with. Those who were not bright enough to understand his point, and those who didn't accept his point. Was I being too literal? Was I treading on his flair for the dramatic? Don Page, one of Stephen's students from the early days when he could still control his wheelchair, once told me that during an argument in which Don wasn't conceding, Stephen charged him with a chair and would have run him down if Don hadn't jumped out of the way. When I knew him, Stephen could no longer control his chair. He couldn't run me down. But this issue wasn't worth making him wish he could. Okay, I said, but we'll cause a stir. At that, Stephen's frown flipped into a big smile. He liked causing stirs.